I pulled in as all this traffic. I said, there's got to be something going on here. I wasn't sure what that was. I'm Commissioner John Schroer for a few more weeks, and glad to be here. About 3 weeks, isn't that right, Governor? The day, third?
4.5. You got to work.
Okay, I'm sorry. Okay. Before we get started, I think it's appropriate for us to acknowledge and be sad a little bit about Charles Sargent not being here. Charles was a dear friend to all of us and to Marianne and I. We spent a lot of years together. He was my, I worked with him when I was on the school board and then as mayor. He was a great friend to TDOT, Williamson County for sure, and Franklin, but TDOT, he was always tough on the stuff that we were going to do. He was tough on our governor when it came to financing, but his heart was in the right place. And while he's in a better place today, I know he would have loved to have been here today. He worked hard for this project, and so tonight, say a blessing for Charles and keep his family, Nancy and his family, Margaret, in your prayers and your thoughts today, because he would have truly wanted to be here. I'm going to quickly introduce a couple people. Glenn Cassida, who is going to be speaker, I guess, unless something really happens strange between now and then. And he has some other commitment, so he has to run off for a little while, so I wanted to do that. Brandon Ogles, who is taking Charles's spot, is there. I'm going to introduce some of the other ones who are going to talk, but we're not letting them talk. I also want to thank Tim Downey and Brian Sewell is here with Southern Land Company. You know, I talked to Tim the other day. I called him. I've been scared to call him for a while because, you know, he really wanted this project done, has contributed. Southern Land Company has added money to this project, has been patient in its delivery, as all of you all have been, and they're just a great corporate partner for Franklin and Williamson County and the state of Tennessee. And Governor, he told me to send his thanks and regards to you as well when I spoke to him. This is the epitome of better late than never for me. I have talked about this project for a long time. When I was the mayor of Franklin, I then called on Governor Bredesen and Commissioner Nicely to try to say, why aren't you building this project? It's needed. It's Franklin's #1 project, and Franklin put significant dollars into this project to help it go. And, you know, former Mayor Tom Miller did the same thing when we were here, and thank you for being here. We've worked on this. He had a lot more hair and when that all started. He was younger then, as we all were. A lot of people thought when this project, when I became Commissioner of Transportation, and thank you for Governor, this would be the first project that we did. And it turns out that it's the last project that I'm doing. This will be my last ribbon cutting as the Commissioner of Transportation. I think very apropos that it's here. It wasn't really planned that way. We wanted to get it done a lot sooner. But when you move into a state position, and Governor, you know this, you know, things look different from a statewide perspective than they do from a local perspective. And I'll tell you a quick story. I was talking to the residents of West Haven a while back with my friend Kent Starwell from the Road Builders, and I said, why aren't we building it? Why aren't we building it? I said, you know, we've got roads in the state of Tennessee where people are dying, and we've got to make sure those roads are done first, because safety is our #1 priority. We want to make sure people are safe on the roads that they travel across the state of Tennessee. And I said, you know, no one has ever died on Highway 96 coming into Franklin from West Haven. And so I left, and I got an email from a resident the next day. Said, well, that's true. No one has ever died on Highway 96. That's because we can't go fast enough to kill ourselves. So I had to laugh at that, and because that's kind of the sense of humor I would have. But it's an honor to be here today. This is a great project. We completed the other leg while I was commissioner, where we went from Highway 96 over to Franklin Road. That's a great project. And there's a lot, I will say there's a lot of TDOT people here, but I want to recognize Paul Deggs, who has been one of the big proponents of this. A Williamson County native, and he was also sure this was going to be the first project that we did when I got to Tennessee. But that's not how the Transportation Department works. You know, we need to do what's best for the state of Tennessee, and we need to do it what's needed and not necessarily what's wanted. And that's kind of how we went about our whole business, and the governor allowed that to happen. And I will say, in the 8 years that we were there, Governor has never told me, Commissioner, I want you to build this road because I want to do a favor for somebody. That has never happened in the state of Tennessee, which is one of the reasons why our roads are ranked in the top 2 or 3 in the nation, because we do what's needed to be done. And the legislature and the governor has allowed us to do that, and we're recognized for that. So it's been a pleasure. This is an honor to have this here. And it's a great project. We're going to tie into West Haven finally, and I live kind of over there, so then this will help me before at some point in time we could ever get it finished. But with that, little words to say other than I want to introduce a great man that I've had the pleasure of serving under for 8 years, who's been a great partner to this state and this transportation and to Williamson County, Governor Bill Haslam. Are you still nervous when I introduce you?
You know, I wanted to be here today because I've read in the paper that Williamson County's kind of taking over the world, and I'm going to be looking for work soon, so I figured this would be a good place to be. No, seriously, this is a true story. When I first started running for governor, you know, you go all over the state, and people assume you know about all the issues around, but you really don't. And so I kept coming here and hearing, what are you going to do about Mac Hatcher? Well, I have true confession. I thought Mac Hatcher was a person that was in trouble. And I kept thinking, I don't know, but I'd kind of nod my head and say, we will come up with a solution. So I quickly learned. I spent the night one time with Mayor Anderson, who mentioned it to me, and then Mayor Schroer told me about it, and I quickly learned why this matters. Let me just thank the Williamson County delegation, elected officials. We wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for passing the IMPROVE Act. That's just a fact. This would have happened, but it would have been some years down the road. And voting for something like the IMPROVE Act was not a no-brainer, even though we were cutting more taxes on your food bill than we were adding to your gas bill. This was still difficult, and everybody in the Williamson County District stepped up. The local elected officials were strong in favor, and that made a big difference. So I want to thank you. This is what we do in state government. We try to solve problems, and one of those most basic is how do we make certain that people can safely get where they need to. So thank you. Commissioner Schroer, I've had a great time the last 8 years teasing you, but I will say this. There's nobody that I know of that has worked as hard and cared as much to get it right, and it's been an honor to work with you. You've done a tremendous job for all of us. And again, I want to end by thanking the delegation here. The fact that you all have elected great people who have been willing to make hard decisions. Senator Johnson, Representative Whitson, Representative Tillis, and Representative Ogles didn't get to be here with us. But I want to end by doing what John said. It's hard to be here and not think of Charles Sargent. And I got to tell you one story. I went to visit him maybe 2 days before he died. He's literally on his deathbed. And by that point in time, he wasn't interested in watching TV or anything. And I said, Charles, what are you thinking about? I mean, tell me what you're thinking about at this point in life. And he said, you want an honest answer? And I said, yeah. And he goes, I'm trying to think about how to get more money in the BEP formula for Williamson County. And I looked at him like he was kidding, but he wasn't kidding. He said that, and if we could get some more money for Columbia State. And if you know Charles, those are two things that he always focused on. It shows just who he is and how much he cared. So to all of you who shared a friendship with him, with me, we had a great one. Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you very much. That may have been the first compliment he's ever given me, so I'm pretty excited about that. He just said first and last. Kind of a love-hate relationship kind of in it. I do now. Senator Jack Johnson, our new leader in the Senate, is going to say a few words.
Thank you, Commissioner Schor. I'd like to begin by just taking this opportunity because it dawned on me a few moments ago that this could be my last public opportunity to thank both Governor Bill Haslam and Commissioner John Schor for their service to this state over the last 8 years. I tell you, I've been in the Senate for 12 years now, and 8 of those have been under the leadership of Governor Bill Haslam. And I can tell you, I can say this without any reservation, he will go down in history as one of the finest governors of this state. Absolutely. And has been touched upon, this is an example of that because government can be slow. Government can sometimes take a long time. People get frustrated, especially those of us who have been in the private sector. We're used to kind of making decisions and making things happen, and it doesn't work quite that way in government, and perhaps it shouldn't because we are the stewards of your tax dollars. And this road project, as badly needed as it is a good example of that. And the IMPROVE Act was an important piece of legislation. Governor Haslam and Commissioner Schor tag teamed that across the state. They built the support for it. They built with members of the General Assembly and with local leaders across the state and really did such an amazing job of articulating the need for this. And it resulted in significant additional revenue, which is going to help us get this project done and many others across the state. So it's one example, so it's an appropriate time to be able to acknowledge their service as we stand here on the cusp of a very important project in Williamson County. When I was running for the state Senate is when I very first started hearing about this project 12 years ago. And as I was knocking on doors, but at that time we were still trying to get I-65 widened south of town too. We got that done. It's a tremendous honor to get to be able to be a part of important projects like this and see them come to fruition. And I want to thank everyone for being here. I want to thank my colleagues in the General Assembly and our mayors and our county commission and all the city aldermen, city councilmen across the county who supported the IMPROVE Act, which helped us lead to get this project done. And again, I'll close by saying to Governor Haslam and Commissioner Schor, thank you for your service to the state. This is a great example of your many, many accomplishments. Thank you.
I'm going to introduce Sam Whitson, who's my representative, and he'll tell you that he might have made the decision to run in my kitchen. I'm not sure that's true, but we had that conversation long before that happened. So, Sam.
Thank you, Commissioner. And it's often said that the Battle of Franklin might have turned out different if this was done on time. That's why we're here.
Was that good or bad?
I don't know. You take it. But again, just want to echo what Senator Johnson said about the great time we had working together with our governor and our commissioner of TDOT, John Schor. You know, it takes a lot of political courage and will to step up and do this. And I just want to thank the governor, Senator Johnson, and my buddy Rick Tillis from Marshall County down there. We all supported the IMPROVE Act because it was the right thing to do for long-term, debt-free, sustainable road funding for the state of Tennessee. It made a big difference. And also, I want to recognize what our city leaders have done since basically, I guess, since the Eisenhower administration to get this project going. Ken and every alderman and mayor since then have been pushing this. And this is also will have a great impact not only on the people of Williamson County, but Dixon and Hickman County use this road to get to work in our growing community over in Brentwood and Cool Springs Business District. But again, thank you, Governor, Commissioner, and the team and everybody that made this possible today.
So, Ken Moore is the mayor of Franklin, and he followed me. He's done a great job. I'm worried about Franklin, though. If this is under construction, what will they have to complain about to the state? So surely they'll come up with something. But Mayor, if you'd say a few words.
Thank you, Commissioner Schor. Merry Christmas, Franklin. Santa Claus has come early. Yippee. I do want to take just a second to recognize a number of our aldermen are here that have been instrumental in many of these discussions about Mac Hatcher Parkway Northwest Extension, and also many of our city staff. So please raise your hands so that everybody will know who you are. Nobody can remember how long this has been ranked #1 on our project list. When I came into office in 2007, it was definitely still #1. And we felt highly committed because we've invested heavily in this project with our own money to make sure it's done, such as the additional money that we'll put in for the multi-use trail that's going to be on this project. We appreciate the opportunity to have the governor, the commissioner, all the elected officials here, TDOT staff, and we thank you for your consideration and the opportunity to have this road, and we look forward to getting it completed. And we'll find something else to complain about, John, don't worry. And one last note, I understand that you're going to be unemployed. There may be some snow truck opportunities, salt truck opportunities for you here. So if you'll come by my office, I'll put in a good word for you. Merry Christmas, everybody.
So I've already talked to Joe York. He said, and Lisa Clayton's going to hire me to cut grass. I'll have to call somebody other than you, that's for sure. Finally, we're going to introduce a good friend of mine and a good friend of the governor and a great friend to this county, a guy who has served this county well and has worked hard on the MPO and other things, and transportation is in his heart, Mayor Rogers Anderson.
John, I'll try to help you out with the
Well,
references.
okay.
So it
I
is.
think somewhere in that crowd I could get one somewhere.
You got one. So many of you may remember 30 years ago, a lot of us were standing in this same place with a not so welcome event in a couple of days. We had a tornado go right through this area just south of here and cleared over what is now Mac Hatcher. It was the night before Christmas, so I couldn't help but sit there and stand here and think about that, how long it has taken, and I'm sure it was before that. Thank you, Governor. Thank you, John, for what all you mean to this county and all the other projects. I wish you the best of luck, John, driving a snow truck, but Eddie Hood is here from the Highway Department. He could probably train you.
I've got my CDL license. I can do that. I've done it for the state
Yeah,
already. And I didn't run over any mailboxes.
So thank you for letting us have an opportunity to be here. Good luck to you.
All right, this is a pathetic excuse to need a job, and I want one. Governor, we're still trying to figure out what you might be able to do next. So I heard he's going to talk about that at a press conference. You can ask him that in just a minute. He owes me one for that one, doesn't he? Okay, so gentlemen, if you'll come over, we've got some shovels, and we're going to do the deed.
Legitimately works. Everybody just hold the dirt and look up just for a second. All right, on 3, we're going to throw. You ready, everybody? 1, 2, 3. Right. Congratulations. Get those notes.